And we are live. If you haven't read the news, the terrible, terrible news, Roe's not here to keep order. So it is now me who is going to have that duty, and who knows where we'll go.
And
Ryan, you're
two
going to have to
people.
take responsibility here.
There's two people in this call who love free reign, so I don't think the adult in the room will be able to contain us, and that just means we'll have a lot of fun tonight.
Awesome. Okay, so this is a book and a beverage, and I should probably introduce my guest. I'm terrible at this. This is the one and only Ryan Skeffington, and he has written a book. I just got it today, so I can't tell you if it's any good or not because I literally just opened the package about an hour ago. Lost Souls. Ryan, first off, my first question for you. Oh, actually, since this is a book and a beverage, let's start with that. What are we drinking tonight?
So, since we don't have the adult in the room, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, I did not want to limit it to one drink and one book. So, for
Awesome.
my first, I have sparkling ice. We get these at Sam's Club by the 20 pack. They're a sparkling water flavored. They're my soda replacement. And man, they're addictive. So, no sugar, much better for you. Compared to how many Mountain Dews and energy drinks I used to drink in college.
Okay, and for book, or is there
For
another
the
beverage?
book,
Take your
so
pick.
water's the backup.
Okay, fair.
So that one's not as exciting.
So,
The
and if you've watched any of these, you know what I have, as always.
Yes. Don't you have like 18 of them left or something like that?
No, I only have two left. So
Oh, good.
next week, and Joe JCM Byrne and Roe were getting on me because I told him my all-time favorite is Killian's Irish Red, but I got to drive 25 minutes to Kroger to get it.
Yep.
I'm too lazy to do it, and they were giving me all kinds of crap. So if I have that for after next week,
Very nice. You'll have made the drive.
Yeah,
I think it's worth it.
I literally drink one beer per show.
Yeah. Hey, Soul. I am next week going to be chatting with Aaron from Bibliotheory, and he does a book brew similar to this, but he does it where you have 4 beverages. And so I'm going to go to our local liquor store, get some local craft brews, and I probably won't finish all 4 of them on the chat. If I do, it'll probably lead to some shenanigans. We'll just have a few sips of each.
I was going to say, if I had to drink 4, I'd just fall asleep. It'd just be like, okay, when are we going to call it?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. EL, thanks for stopping by. Great to see you, bud.
Yeah. El Montague, awesome man.
So let us go into the first book that I want to talk about. This is from my one and only beta reader who got through the entire book. When starting the first book, was brand new to the writing scene, didn't have a lot of contacts, didn't really know anything, but I, by the luck of the draw, stumbled onto my beta reader, Ryan Patrick, and he wrote The Martian Incident. It is a military sci-fi that is a perfectly hard sci-fi. Everything's based in reality. I think he mentions SpaceX, the Elon Musk rocket company, and how that evolves into the future. It is a gripping story, one single POV that takes you through the actions and accounts of maybe 24 hours. So you are just going the entire time.
Sounds awesome.
So it was wonderful.
What is that again? I have to write that down.
It is called The Martian Incident.
The Martian Incident. Okay.
Hey, Colin, great to see you. Thanks so much for stopping by. Drew, I see you in chat as well. Thanks for coming to hang out with us. And I just talked with Ryan a little bit earlier today. He has, oh man, I don't even know how to describe it. Some people say world builder's disease is a thing. He has future planning architecting disease. He has the next 9 books planned and outlined. He has 1 book a year planned, outlined. Some of them are standalone. Some of them follow the series that he's working on. He has, I think multiple hundreds of thousands of words written, but not in a publishable state.
I was just going to say this, but El Montague beat me to it. There's no such thing as too much world building. Give me your data dumps. Tell me how the world works. You can never have them too much. Neither's epic planning. Absolutely.
I wish I would have had such encouragement during my writing trajectory. I wrote a 5,000 word prologue that gave you all of the world building of Lost Souls. It takes you from what I called final descent, which is when Earth no longer became inhabitable. And that's why the ring colony exists that you see on the front cover. And I used, like rail guns the size of the moon that were built in space to get these ovular vessels launched at 2 million miles per hour to cover the 350 million light years that it took to get to this new made up solar system where the resource in my book that is essentially the magic system comes from. And then I gave it to a couple people and they're like, this is boring. And I was like, dang it. And I didn't want a boring book. So what I did was I kind of wrote a prologue light through a character's point of view. They're sauce. Ooh, I like that. Can't have a good spaghetti without a nice spaghetti sauce. So I can understand where one would not want to be reading a history lesson, a Wikipedia, or a lecture. But for the people who really like it, they really like it.
I was going to say, do you have a website? You can always put it there and say, hey, if you want to know this, it's free, go read it. Or, you can always repurpose it.
I have thought about that. I don't have a website yet. One thing that I think could be of benefit in the future is I am a extremely heavy outliner and planner and researcher. So I was researching the levels that the body begins to suffer when you don't have enough oxygen. And so I have a paragraph in the book that has an excerpt of all this research. And it's like at 14% oxygen, the brain responds negatively and you start to get lightheaded. And at 12 and 10%, you have long-term damage. And I have a whole page or two of all the necessary information. And I think I may have said, and the character was out of breath. And that was all of the research I used. So I can take all of the outline and put that on the website for people to just scroll through and have a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that idea. A daily blog. Yeah, there's 65 pages of outline for a 200-page book. So there's plenty of content to tweet out.
Yes. So how did you choose to write sci-fi? Where did you get this idea from? Sell us on your book. Take your pick. It's a smorgasbord.
Yeah. Well, I hate salesmanship, so I'll do that one first so I can end with a bang. Lost Souls is a book that deals with finding one's purpose, overcoming loss, and making a difference in the world.
Nice.
All things that I kind of struggled with in my early to mid 20s as you get out of college. And up until that point, everyone has told you what to do with your life. First grade goes to second grade, 11th grade goes to 12th grade. You finish college and you go out into the world. And so that's where some of the themes and inspirations came from. Why gladiators? So as you can see right over my shoulder right here is the helmet of Maximus from the movie Gladiator, Russell Crowe. One of my favorite movies of all time. I am a self-proclaimed person who does not watch movies more than once. That's slowly changing as I follow my creative journey. But Gladiator was a movie that I would watch anytime it came on TV. You're just scrolling through the TV guide, Gladiator's on, and the rest of your day is shot for the next 2 hours because, you got to finish it. It's on.
Right.
And so the main character's name is Maximus. Maximus Decimus Meridius, commanders of the army of the north, general of the Felix Legion, loyal servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and he will have his vengeance in this life or the next. I've done that a lot in my lifetime. So Gladiator is a huge inspiration for the book. One of my favorite scenes as well is the "Are You Not Entertained" scene. A fun fact about that is it had a gaff where they had a wide panning shot of the entire arena, and one of the stage hands in a white t-shirt and jeans shows up in the shot. So just a fun fact about the movie Gladiator.
Nice.
So we did the salesmanship, inspiration. The idea for the story. I hate and love telling the story because it starts with a pain point. I had taken my wife and I to our very first Tennessee Titans home football game. I'm a Tennessee Titans fan. Okay, two hands. This is difficult. Both of these are plays from the Tennessee Titans, immortalized in poster. But our team lost to a last-second field goal. It was 25 degrees outside, and it was just the saddest thing in the world. And we drove. So very much like Roe this evening, it was a 14-and-a-half-hour drive. Sports banter is fun until you're Cowboys or Eagles fans. Then it just gets mean. So we have our 14-hour drive home out of Nashville back to Oklahoma. And I'm just sitting there on hour 10, starting to hallucinate. Like my mind is just off in La La Land. And I was like thinking about the scene. Hey, Bo, great to see you.
Hey, Bo.
Thinking about the scene from X-Men 2 where Magneto's in jail and he gets the security guard and he lifts the security guard up because he had too much iron in his blood. And he pulls it all out. And I was like, whoa, what if the government could do that? And that is not any way what's in the book, but that was the founding idea of like, what would it take for the government to be able to do that? What would happen in the human body? What kind of forces, what kind of magic system would you need for that to occur? And then you asked, why science fiction? I have always had a propensity for space. I love space. I love the stars. I love the grand magnitude of it all. My favorite video games were all set in space, Halo being one of them. And Dune, I wrote this down because it's absolutely perfect. Where was it? Dune released 3 months prior to me starting writing at all. And so it was forefront of my mind, and I was blown away at the epic scale of it.
Yep.
So that was one of the biggest inspirations for sci-fi is all of the media that I enjoyed and my love for space. Just one for one was a great additive. 1 + 1 = 3 is essentially what happened with this book. And Drew, I can't believe we let Vrabel go either, but we did hire a guy who knows how to throw the ball past the line of scrimmage. So we have hope for the future.
I'll just say that as a University of Kentucky grad, Will Levis is your quarterback, right?
He is, and I am very excited. I compare him a little bit to Josh Allen in that they play with an intensity that's amazing to watch. It's electric. They're a little bit stupid at times with their body. They like truck people as really tall, strong quarterbacks. He can throw it a mile. So he's definitely worth being excited over.
Yep. So have you read the book Dune or just seen the movie?
So I didn't read it. I listened to it on audiobook. I was told that it's a hard read. And so I listened to it when I drove solo from Oklahoma to Colorado. Hi, Catherine. Thanks so much for stopping by. Levis's first game was crazy. It showed the potential that he had, and I'm very excited for the seasons to come. And so what I found was Denis Villeneuve was so true to what he could be in the movie that it created such good imagery that it made listening to the story easier. I have a hard time with audiobooks because the author will say something that's world building or description, and I'll go, oh, that's what this is supposed to look like, and I'll be lost. I need EL to stop talking about football. We're going to be getting distracted for the next 3 hours. And I'm like, I already have ADHD when I'm listening to audiobooks, and you throw a comment in there. Oh my gosh. And someone trying to talk to me while an audiobook is going on is a fightable offense.
Yes.
I don't have that much focus. But Denis' film gave me the imagery to follow along with Frank's words. And so as I was driving, it was going along, I could follow, and the imagery was already there. So I was able to just be a part of the scene. And it was such a cool experience. So I'm super excited for Dune 2. I actually got a tip yesterday from Mike's Book Reviews that there is a 1 week early single showing in my town on the IMAX. So instead of having to wait until March 1st, I get to see it on February 25th.
So have you read any of the books after Dune or just the first book?
I've only read the first book. After this movie, I'll probably start the second book.
I was going to say the first 3 are worth reading. After that, just stop. Do yourself a favor and stop. I
have heard they get out there, is how I'll describe it.
The main character is a giant worm in God Emperor of Doom. There's not a lot you can do with that. There's no limbs, yeah.
He coiled awkwardly. And what did he do in the next scene? He squirmed meanderingly.
Yeah. So I've actually not seen the movie yet because I saw the original movie. I saw the made for TV. I've read the book. And I was like, you know what? Until both halves are out of Dune, I'll watch them back to back and not before. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm old. I'm patient. I'll wait.
Might be a touch hot. Well, let me turn it down.
No, I'm glad you know what that means.
Thank you, Bo. I appreciate it. I've been trying to adjust these settings because I don't know what it sounds like on live just yet. So appreciate the heads up. And I respect the patience of waiting for the second one to come out. I think it'll be a great experience for you because you'll just have 5 hours of just perfect movie.
So my favorite is actually the made for TV because they did it in 6 hours. And I was like, 6 hours gives you the time to do it. The first movie was, it was made in the 80s. Let's just say that. So I love the made for TV one. And I was like, movies. And then I heard it's going to be 2 parts. And I hate that. But I was like, you know what? You need it for this movie. So I'm looking forward to it.
Not saying that is all the compliment that I need. I saw clips and excerpts of the previous movies and the way that they did the shields on the body. They just took the character and added a square overlay to the actual camera. And for the time, I bet they were doing their absolute best.
That was state of the art. I saw it in the theater and I was like, wow, they can do that? Yeah.
And then Star Wars came out shortly after and was just the next level of all next levels.
So, next question for you. And by the way, I told Rose, since I didn't know if he'd be here or not, I consulted ChatGPT for these questions.
Oh, fantastic. I think you'll get canceled on Twitter for using AI. There's a lot of hoopla about using AI at the moment, but AI I think we can press on.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay here. They can just choose not to watch this now.
No. We're trying to sell books. They got to watch it.
Oh, you're right.
We've crossed 100 subscribers. You're a professional production.
Just show me what it's worth. Stop watching here, but then go buy Ryan's book and start reading it.
And then come back and finish the episode for the algorithm so everyone else gets to see the next show.
There you go. So when you write, since I literally just got the book today and opened it like an hour and a half ago, So I do not know. What do you write? First person, third person? Do you write multiple POVs? What do you do? Present, omniscient?
So the book was published third person limited with multiple point of views. The
Okay.
first draft was written with both first and third, past and present, limited and omniscient.
Oh, yeah.
So, first drafts they say are always bad, and mine was probably the worst. You could put it up against anybody's, and it
Oh,
broke all the rules.
Catherine, if you're still here, please tell me you're not just shrieking now because she is a professional editor, and I'm sure she's seen this before. And
So I just watched Caden Love's premiere for his book. They did a live stream. I'm gonna butcher the name, but I think it's like Elegy of a Fragmented Vineyard.
yes, he's
Fantastic.
actually the next guest on this channel.
Oh, that's awesome. He was talking about he got a indie fantasy grant. And so his editing, or one of the rounds of editing, was covered. And I believe Catherine was the editor for that book. So I'm very sorry I hurt your feelings, Catherine. But your work makes bad writers much better than they deserve to be. And I am a self-proclaimed bad writer working to improve.
So I have to ask you, because every time when I get my manuscript copy back from an editor, I open it up and it's a joke now. I just look at it, I'm like, the argument can be made that I'm not even monolingual. Because there are so many corrections. And then I feel so bad. I'm like, why do these people answer my emails? They know what's coming.
And I'm not an expert in linguistics, but isn't the joke that English is 3 languages in a trench coat trying to pass off as one? So if anything, you're semi-trilingual in a trench coat doing your best. So you're only 1 language short from everyone who's actually bilingual.
So, and yet I'll tell you, Catherine is actually my proofreader. Well, she's my first proofreader, because she can't help it. And I love this. Just be like, for continuity, you have this here and you said that there. And so I'll make changes after the proofreader, which is a great way to introduce more typos. So then Melissa Stone is my final. And I'm like, I will not touch it after Melissa because it needs.
Yes.
Okay, so what did you ultimately choose for your book? What is it?
So we ended with third person limited with multi POVs. And that came from my desire to be able to tell the story from different angles. When I first wrote the first draft, I thought it was like there was a camera over the character's shoulders and we were seeing everything from their point of view. Ultimately needed to fix that because you need to write it from their perspective, not over their shoulder. But in the story, there is a caste system and different levels and strata of society. And so you don't get to fully immerse the reader in the drudgery and suffering of the lowest caste if you follow only the main character, because he's from the middle upper and has faced challenges in his life, but you don't get the full experience of the world that they're actually living in. And so I had 2 main POVs, and I used other characters that came along for the ensemble as supplementary to give backstory, to give setup, to give perspective that either of the main characters would not have access to, so that you can learn more about what it means to live on a ring.
So I'll tell you, in my series is going to be 4 books, and stupid me, I decided to do first person present tense for an epic fantasy.
Wow.
Yeah. So
The character has wide eyes.
So that's why it's now a 7-book series, and all the even books are side characters get their own 150 page adventure, because my character's a druid. He's going to stay in the forest. I've pleaded with him to go like to throne rooms in big cities, and he's just told me no. So I'm like, okay, then I need to get the other people who survived their encounter with you to go explore these things. So that's why, I'm like, no one does first person present tense epic fantasy for a reason. I'm the only one foolish enough to try. So
But I think that could be a fantastic element of salesmanship or a sticking point. I ran a business a while ago, and there is a inverted curve. It's a U shape, and it is familiarity with a topic and excitement for the topic. So if something's very familiar, it's really boring. And then if something is so far out in left field and they have no way to connect to it, it's not exciting because it's scary. And so you find that nice middle point where I call it uniquely familiar. And so for epic fantasy fans, a first person present tense story is familiar because they know the world, they know the rules, they know the expectation, but they get to experience it in a unique way, and it might be a wonderful selling point.
Cool. Next question that the bot has for you. How did you go about approaching this story? You said the loss, the pain point got you started, but how did you decide the earth was going to be unlivable and they had to slingshot themselves across? How did this start to assemble?
So because I like space, and Halo was a big inspiration, Ringworld was the world from the beginning, and I just had to get to that point. And then once you have a world, you need characters, and you need them to do something. Because you're supposed to write what you know, I just made myself the main character. Now, obviously, there is only like personalities and like lived experiences, so I can make the character more relatable. I don't hope to go on the journey that this character went on. But there's a music album that is right here. It's titled Deep Blue by Parkway Drive. And the album tells the story of an individual through every song. Self-insert. Yeah, I'm the biggest rookie of all rookies. And if anyone enjoys me being a rookie, then I'm having a fantastic rookie season. Let's follow up with the sophomore year. And so the character in the album has a character arc. And so I just made my character go through that character arc in this made up world that I stole from somewhere else. I love the playful banter and the teasing. It's just what guys do.
Yeah, you can't get on that plane. You're making this interesting.
Having someone in the audience for a live stream is just a wonderful dynamic. He's our row for this evening, the third person to throw ideas on and bounce off of. Fantastic. EL, you're doing a great job. And so that's kind of where all of it began. And then about halfway through the book, I found Brandon Sanderson. I still haven't read any of his books, but I watch his podcast religiously every week with Dan Wells, and I watch his YouTube college lectures on creative writing. And so the first half of the book, I was a horrible writer. And then the second half of the book, I was a horrible writer with a really good teacher. And so it got exponentially better. And so I had this book that was like horrible and then less horrible. And so when I did the rewrite, the first half got way better because I was getting better as a writer. And then the second half wasn't as good. So I had to rewrite that one. And it just level stepped. The first half and the second half got better and better and better and better. And it's at where it's at now.
So how many times did you rewrite your book?
I never rewrote the whole book, but I did go through and edit 12 times.
12 times, okay.
Because I was such a heavy outliner and because I followed a predetermined plot, the structure was going to be what the structure was. But I rewrote it 2 or 3 times, watched Brandon Sanderson's lectures 2 or 3 times, rewrote it and made the plot and the prose and everything a little bit better. I took out the self-insert. I took out the author breaking the fourth wall, trying to say something directly to the audience. I got my first beta reader. He was like, this is readable. And he left so many comments, and it was so helpful because you have no idea what's bad. And I wasn't a big reader when I started writing, so I didn't have anyone to go off of. Got a beta reader, rewrote it. Got a free developmental editor. Luckiest thing in the world. I'm on Reddit in the beta reader section. This person says, "Hi, I just graduated from editorial college, whatever training they went through, and I would like to do 2 or 3 developmental edits on the house to practice and sell my service." This woman nearly ended my writing career. She gave me 15 pages of some of the best advice I could have ever had, but it was so blunt that it was like a stab to the heart with every sentence. Yeah. And I was just a wee little baby writer who had never been told that he was not a good writer. And I stepped away for a week and I cried my tears, and I came back and I was like, holy cannoli, this was the coolest thing that ever happened. Because now I can make it good. That was the next step. Yep. Mission accomplished. You wrote a book. Step 2, make it good. Yes, a blunt editor is very powerful. Yes. I hired a really nice editor for my next one because I knew what I needed. So I got my developmental edit, and then I hired a hybrid editor, or someone who offered hybrid editing services where they did a second dev edit and a line edit where everything was essentially buttoned up structure wise, but she was like, hey, you didn't really explain this. Can we add a few lines to give the reader proper clarification? And then she would go through my prose and say, you could say this better. And it was fantastic. Got Ryan to beta read the book a second time. He went all the way through. And then I edited it until the deadline. Like I set a deadline, October 14th, it was going to be published. And I was editing it October 10th at 4 p.m. And my deadline to make any changes was October 10th at 6 p.m. So it was down to the last minute.
We got another fan.
Oh, wow. Hi, cutie. I love
old man.
Mine is mine's being a couch potato right now, sitting next to me.
I'm jealous. Here we go. Shut up.
What would you advise for those who are aspiring but cannot afford an editor? I would say beta readers are probably the best option for you, for an aspiring writer, because they can give you both points of view. Beta readers can, if prompted, act as a reader and give you feedback from a reader's perspective. What I have loved after joining Discord communities and finding BookTube is becoming friends with other writers. And so what we do is called manuscript swaps. We can share small passages and say, hey, I wrote this passage. Does it emotionally connect with you like I want it to? The comments are the hardest part about a live stream. It's impossible to ignore. And what that also does is it teaches you as a writer what to look out for, because most writers, I'm not going to include myself in that, are also prolific readers, because the advice is if you want to be a good writer, read a lot. And so luckily for me, my beta reader, Ryan, has read a ton. And he can say, hey, your writing style emulates this guy from the 1950s who had some of the best science fiction stories in the world. And I was like, who's that? And I was thrown off the bus. But it was super helpful. So that is probably where I would start. Discord communities are great. BookTube is great. Reddit.com/r/beta readers is another place. Oh no. We have 2 hecklers now, or did we trade in EL for Bo? Oh, we're in trouble, folks. Oh, so you're already on the right track. Let's see. I would wonder if there's a way that you could provide some sort of value via a bartering system for an editor. Maybe find editors who are willing to publicly edit a chapter on a live stream, and you volunteer your manuscript for public critique. EL, I hope you travel safe. Hope the plane lands just fine. Keep all those doors secured. Make sure you check the bolts on the way in.
So I'll just add for the editing thing. The one thing that I've done that really, really helps, but I find I can only do it once, is that I listen to it and as I read it, and you'll be like, no one talks that way. And when you hear it, it's a different way of processing. And you'll catch all these things that you're like, how did I read this 6 times and not see that? So the other thing people said is change the font or change the size of it so that the lines are not exactly the same, because otherwise you get used to. So if you change that, it looks different. You'll actually, and I also, especially if I'm like writing, I'm like, this chapter doesn't quite work. I don't know what I need. I print it out and I go to my library and I sit there like I'm sitting here for an hour. I can stare out the window or I can edit, my choice, but I'm sitting here for an hour. And then that gives me, so I'm able to write my thoughts and I don't have to, type and then, no, I don't like that, delete, and then decide I like it and they're gone. So I like to actually, when that happens, I actually like to write it out by hand. And then I just pick what works best. So you got to change it up. You can't just keep looking at the same document all the time, or you will miss so many things.
Yes, that's a good point. Don't ask for a Herculean task for free. Small bursts.
Yep.
I really like the print it out and go to the library, have no distractions, and just focus on it for an hour. Neil Gaiman is someone that I listen to a lot. I have the horrible habit of getting to know the writers while not actually reading their books, because I think the writers are more interesting than the stories they tell. Just an up here quirk. And he says, I give myself permission to do one of 2 things. I give myself permission to write or do absolutely nothing at all. He'll go and sit in his cabin out in the woods by the lake, and he'll have his typewriter, or I think he even writes with a fountain ink pen. His first draft is handwritten. And he says, I give myself permission to look outside at the beauty of nature. And he says, after about 5 minutes, it starts to get pretty boring. And so my made up stories in my head actually become more interesting than the nature that I'm staring at. So Neil is a prolific and expert writer, but I think he's an even better speaker. I love listening to him. And he has the soft English accent that just invites you into the conversation like you're meant to be there.
Okay, next question. Are you a plotter, a pantser, or a somewhere in between?
I would say that I begin as a plotter to the T. I start with a beginning, middle, and end. I start with my plot and I start with my world. I come up with characters who fit in that world. And then I'm like, okay, here's the skeletal structure. And then I plant seeds with that, and they sprout into something that is what I expected them to sprout into, or something that's all their own, where I could have this outline of 45 scenes where I will outline each scene beat by beat, quote by quote, character saying this, character doing this, and it helps me write prose better. And then I'll start writing prose, and then I realize the character wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
And so the seed has blossomed into, instead of conflicting with a punch to the throat, they're going to have conflict that says, are you sure you really meant to do that? He's a gardener. Yeah, I would say I plant lots of seeds and see what comes up, but I have a very rigid and structured garden where every row is exactly as I'm supposed to be, but sometimes seeds drop out of the bag and they cross plant with different, and you come up with hybrid variations. And so I don't let my outline limit my creative process. The outline is so that I can build prose, not come up with a great story. One of the things that I love about my outline is it allows my creative process to happen at any moment. I have a Google Doc with however many chapters, however many scenes, and I'll come across something and I'll look down at the sidewalk and there's a puddle with an interesting shape. And I'm like, oh, that could be what it looks like after the conflict happens in scene 32. And now I have a visual representation of what scene 32 is supposed to look like. And that just gets the creative juices flowing. You can't force them to be what you want without killing their spirit. Yes. I write as though I am a shepherd of the story. I build the foundation for it when the kiddos are young and they really don't know anything. But when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 and can think for themselves and explore the world on themselves, all I do is guide them to the ending that I want.
So everyone here is going to, after this show, they're going to jump on over to Bibliotheory and watch Christopher as his guest,
yes.
right?
Yes, Chris, great to see you. Bex, thanks so much for hanging out with us. It's since we're talking about bibliotheory, and I'll segue that to BookTube and attribute your channel to that as well. Reviews have become the lifeblood of my happiness over the last 3 months. So every time I get a review, it is just like an injection of dopamine into my heart. What's up, my friend Jim, Fear the Beard? It's not quite the Beard of Darkness, but I will be an adequate substitution for him this fine evening. But just want to shout out everyone who does BookTube, everyone who does reviews, everyone who takes the time to spend a few minutes with an author who just stumbled upon this fantastic passion and ability to share stories with the world. Y'all make all the difference.
Yeah, I will say thanks, Bex. This is the person who used to call me Mothman. So,
the peanut gallery has come out in full force this evening.
What would we do without them?
I think they're in short supply of distractions to keep them occupied.
I will say that, yes, I want to ask you this, because the reason you're on the show is because you are the absolute anti-Mike, in that I saw a Facebook post saying you should contact these booktubers. They may read your book and talk about it. And so I sat there, wringing my hands and watching videos. And after a few weeks, I got the courage to make a comment after one video. And then they responded. I was like, oh, my God, he talked to me. It's like, middle school. I mean, terrible. This is horrible. I shouldn't say this, but then, this is what I do. And so then I finally got to the point where I got one to read it and then others. And oh, my goodness, booktubers love it. And I'll tell you, the one booktuber who he had the power to make me quit writing, and he didn't know it, and I sure didn't tell him, was Nico from Nico's Book Reviews. Mm-hmm. And I think I have this right, 50-year-old brain, so maybe not, but I think it's Jim Wilborn said that he only gave my book 3 stars, but I learned more about how to write a great book in that 8 minutes than I had in the last 2 years, or something like that. I think it was Jim. Maybe I'm misattributing, because I'm sure his book is great. I wish I had time to read all the books that I want to. But anyway, and so I was like, oh, my God, Nico is the end-all, be-all of all reviews. And I'm just like, and then he's emailed me and said, hey, review's coming out tomorrow of your book. And I'm like, okay, don't hyperventilate. And he liked it, which is fine. But I like when I've had a couple of booktubers who are like, 3 stars, I'm not going to continue. And that's fine, because they're like, this is what did not work for me. And I'm like, you know what, that is also valuable to find out, what works for people, what doesn't. So I don't know. I'm still waiting. I've not got a 1-star review. I've got a couple where people gave me the rating and ran away, but no one has ever said 1 star and then, went into great detail as to why. I'm so looking forward to that, because I've got tough enough skin now that I'm just like, I'll just laugh it off. I know some authors actually print it out and take it to Comic-Cons and here's my 1-star review.
I've seen someone put it on like their back cover before, and I love that, taking it and making it your armor so it can't hurt you. Yeah. So I'll get to what I consider the application process. I'll give you, I'm never asking for them. I will pay you to not put them up. I made the joke, I think, at the end of my previous interview. It was like, if you have 4 or 5-star reviews, please do post them. If you have a 1 or 2 star, DM them to me and we can keep them off the internet. But the process of reaching out and marketing my book feels like I'm either applying for a job or trying to sell a product. Like I'm in sales, and I'm not a naturally gifted or talented salesperson, and so I didn't like it at first. The jokes keep coming. Fantastic crowd tonight. I love you all for being here. Thank you so much. But job interviews teach you how to send something into the void and be okay with it not coming back. I applied to 247 project manager positions at Amazon, and I got one interview for a job I didn't even apply for. I found the guy on Facebook and I was like, can I have an interview? And he gave it to me, but I wasn't qualified at all. And then sales, hearing no 150 times. I was trying to sell the product for my startup, and I would email bars and breweries and venues and say, hi, I have a product. Can I give it to you for free? Hi, I have a product. Can I come show it to you? Hi, I have a product. It will make you billions of dollars. No, you're a liar. Get out. And just getting thrown out of establishments builds that ability to hear no and not run away from the next ask. And so what I have loved so much about BookTube, everyone is nice. Everyone is so nice, almost to a fault. I have a perfect example. Matt from Go Read Books, he just posted a comment. He was like, I can't accept any more ARC reviews or physical copies because you have all sent me so many. I can't physically read them all. And so I'm glad that people are standing up and saying, hey, I can accept one book a month, and that's my limit. I love that they're establishing boundaries and being open communicators. But man, there's not a single person I've met on BookTube that hasn't been a good human being. So I love that about it.
So,
hey, Britton.
Else, I will tell you, I go to a lot of Comic-Cons, and I talk to the authors there, and I'm like, what was...
You're derailing us. See, we don't have Ro to keep the peace, and chat is doing everything in their power to just send us off into left field.
So when I talk to authors, it amazes me because I'm like, have you gone to booktubers? You'll watch them, if you see someone you like, and they're like, oh no, I can't talk to them. I'm like, they're real people. Mm-hmm. They're just a person. You can totally do this. And they're like, I don't know. So I actually have I call it my very partial list of booktubers. And I'm like, these are all people who I've either spoken to or sent my book or both. I can vouch for them being wonderful, wonderful people. That's awesome, Britton.
Oh, and congratulations, Britton.
So that is when I go, that's part of my evangelical zeal is I'm trying to get other authors to go, and I give them Beard of Darkness. I'm like, here is his, and here's Matt's email sent to him. He interviews every author. I'm surprised he hasn't surveilled you and tracked you down and asked you already. Matt
has the best feedback loop I think anyone could ever have. At the end of the interview, he says, who is someone you can give me a warm intro to, or who is someone that you find interesting enough that I should talk to them? What that does is it allows his top of funnel for all of the interviews that he does to be expanding by 3 people every time he does an interview. He's like a multi-level marketing scheme for interviews. And then because it's a warm interview, they're more likely to open up. And because he's done so many interviews, he has social proof that what he's doing is working. And it's just a flywheel if he's going to be interviewing Oprah in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you, Ro and I actually talked about, because we were doing one a week and we were worried, like, what do we do when we run out, in like 2 months? And then I was like, you know what? I know enough. I can keep us in for at least 5 months. And now I'm like 5 years. There's just so many people, and we're just now going to go to 2 a week. Mm-hmm. And we're like, and we're like, listen, we're not going to do Matt and do 5 a week and do 170 videos.
Sometimes he does twice in a day.
I'm like, we're not going to do that because you know what? We still want to write. And Matt had actually told me next month he's going to start cutting down the number of interviews because he wants to write. And it's not a 42-hour day, unfortunately. Bert is in the house.
Bert, great to see you. Thanks so much for stopping by.
So now we have to stop and replay the whole conversation from the beginning now that Bert is here.
See, we have this magical piece of technology that I can introduce you to. So after you hit end stream, it creates a link that actually says everything that we've said in this conversation, and I will get it to Bert via carrier pigeon on a hard drive.
Floppy disk.
Yes. Carrier pigeon and floppy disk must be decoded using World War II decoder rings.
Yes.
Bo, if you could introduce me to Pierce Brown, that would be sick. I haven't read Red Rising yet, but I think he's a cool dude, and I just think I'd like hanging out with him. EL, thanks so much for hanging out with us, bud.
He doesn't want to decode. Come on, where's the work? You got to put work in too. Let's see. So, Bo, we had that. I'm trying to, but people are coming too fast and furious.
That is one of the hardest things about live streams is when the chat is going faster than your brain can keep up. And I don't have a great brain, so I can't keep up with a whole lot of stuff. It just derails you immediately. And I'll go back to what Beck says. If I can't go squirrel, I don't want to go. So that's a perfect place is a live stream. It has a built-in squirrel effect.
Yeah. So my next question, and I'm afraid of what the answer is going to be, is sci-fi the only genre that you want to play in, or is there a fantasy or a horror or romantic rom-com in you? What's coming up?
So I'm going to ask, why are you scared of the answer?
I don't want you to be just a sci-fi author.
So here's my second book. This is a perfect segue into what we were talking about earlier. Nice. So this is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. It is the first fantasy book I've ever read in my adult life. There is a multitude of romantic relationships between characters. It made me want to put romantic elements into Lost Souls. Lost Souls is a really... it's full of despair. And so it's hard to put romance and despair in the same sentence. And so the one scene that has any hope, any love, any joy, any nice, that anxious feeling when you're going on a first date, which I haven't gone on a first date in 12 years. So it's far, far removed, but I just love those positive feelings that you can get from writing. And so I would love to play in other genres. I read Colleen Hoover's Verity, and that was like a thriller, and I just could not put it down. So I was like, this is awesome. I don't know if I'll ever write one, but what I do have is I have a world that I've created, and I have different cast systems, and I have different people. I can write these different kind of stories in the world that I've created, a la the Cosmere. So I do believe that after I finish these first 3 books, I'll explore, and I haven't read it yet, but there's a podcast that I watch called Two to Ramble. One of the guys really likes Hyperion, and Hyperion is told, I believe, through 8 or 9 different stories. So I'm lucky I got one. I'm lucky I got one person to say yes. I got the best person to say yes. So with Hyperion, it tells a story through 8 different stories, and they all have different topics and plot lines and genres. Some are horror, some is a love story, some is a sci-fi. And what you'll find out when you read Lost Souls is there's 7 characters called Titans. They are the gladiators of the story, and you really don't get to meet a lot of them in the book. And so I'm going to write a prequel novella, series of novellas, where maybe 20,000 words per character. I'll write a character arc for each of them and release it as a single book where you get to meet all of the Titans and allow me to play in the sandbox of my world using different genres.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And I did a lot of talking, and you brought up some great comments, and I would love to go back to them because, Chris, you have a showmanship quality to you. Ever thought of starting a YouTube channel? So I was a Twitch streamer for 2 years, and so I enjoy talking on camera on the computer. I despise video editing. There's nothing I hate more after moving in traffic, like moving homes. Oh, the worst. And then traffic. That's number 2. Video editing is a very close 3, and it's maybe even getting higher than traffic. So if anyone wants to take these videos, clip them, give me a YouTube link, I will start a YouTube channel day one if I have a video editor. That's dreaming and most likely not going to happen, but those are the conditions to me to have a YouTube channel.
So fun fact for this channel, Ro and I were sitting at a Comic-Con, trying not to look desperate. And he's like, we should start a YouTube channel. And I'm like, that's such a time suck. I don't have time already. I'm like, I don't even know how to video edit. And he looked at me and goes, do you listen to me when I talk? I've been doing this for 30 years. I will edit the videos. I'm like, oh, yes.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
I can set up the stream and do overlays and audio setup and camera feeds and scene transitions. But I just want to insert very graphic image when it comes to video editing. Oh, it's the worst. I just need a row.
Yeah, that's why after like about 16 or 17 episodes of edited, we're like, let's do live. And so now we do exclusively live.
Oh, I love that you have a sense of relief, Chris, when you video edit. Maybe I'll hire you.
Let's see. So next question for you. Where are we at? Do you listen to music or not when you – do you have conditions to write?
Music was my go-to way to make my brain feel at peace because it would just squirrel. If I didn't have something taking the other half of the brain while this half of the brain did thinking. But since I've discovered BookTube, there is a new interview with a new person to listen to every single day. So it's like my new talk radio. I'll listen to, the Beard of Darkness review, John Minton talking story. Every time he puts a video out, I listen to it. Who's another great one? Tori Talks does, she has a bit, and I cannot remember what it is, where she has guests on. BellTube is becoming a go-to. Chris, Bibliotheory, all great subscribers. And then Britton does a show where he talks for quite a long time when he brings some people on. Great to listen to. Matt on Books, Joanna, Petrick. I have went from 10 subscriptions on YouTube to probably 1,000 just because of BookTube. Motley Crue. Thank you, Chris. It was right here trying to escape. Still on the tarmac. Man, EL. We'll just have to wait till he takes off and stay live so that he can enjoy the entirety of this conversation. Hopefully he doesn't get delayed and keeps us talking for like 4 hours. I would hate to take up that much of your time.
That pigeon carrying the floppy disk is going to be tired then if we make it that long.
It's going to need 2 floppy disks.
And 5.25 inch, by the way, not those little 3.5 that are.
No. We're going to need a dual wielding pigeon who can carry 2 big floppy disks.
Let's see. So when you do this, do you type all on the computer? Do you do anything longhand, or do you listen to it or is it all? What is your process?
I love this software called Notion. Notion is it's like a playground that keeps people organized. You can have pages and Wikipedias and links to different things. You can put pictures, you can put videos, and I absolutely love it. However, it's blocked at work, so I can't use it. And so I have to write in Google Docs. And so my outline is in Google Docs, and I don't format Google Docs very well. So I'm going to pull it up right now just so we can get an accurate count. it is one long stream of consciousness. And so I have to scroll up and open multiple tabs of the same document so I can figure out what's going on. Right now, we're at 75 pages of outline for book 2.
Wow.
However, that is not everything, and I don't always have Google Docs. And so I have a notes app or a to-do list on my phone. And so every time I have an idea where I can't get to Google Docs, I put it in the to-do, and I sit there, I'm at work, I'm on the toilet, I'm in the shower, I'll get out of the shower, and I was like, I had an idea, I don't want to lose it. This is I'm gonna fight Stephen King on something he said. He was like, if it's a good idea, don't write it down because it'll come back to you. I have lots of great ideas all the time, and I forget them always. So write it down. I'm gonna reference Eminem. So Eminem writes down rhymes and lyrics and quotes and whatnot. He puts them in shoeboxes. And so in his house is just shoeboxes full of things that he's written and may not ever use, but he's like, this is an idea. I'm going to take it and put it somewhere. So I use Google Docs and I write on my phone. And occasionally when I get stuck, I'll break out the yellow engineering paper. Nice. And I'll just write, because writing, for whatever reason, just gives my brain the ability to say, hey, you have nothing else to focus on. Here are all the ideas that you need to fix your story. So that's kind of the process that has no process.
Okay. So we're going to take a left-handed turn here. And what is your day job? Your dreaded day job?
It is a dreaded day job, but it bought this, it bought this, it paid for this jacket and the lights that are on behind me. I am a project manager for a natural gas transportation company. And so when a producer drills a well, wherever they've drilled it, I build new pipeline from their well to the existing systems so that they have a transportation service to sell it to market.
Okay. And Chris is a big fan of Google Docs also.
And it is a good thing, EL, that I don't work for TSA, or else water bottles would be getting by me left and right. 5-ounce shampoos, which is topical for who I'm speaking with today, would just be in every aisle seat, and it would be a travesty.
You know, for my job, I used to have to go to customers and talk to them about our rinse-off products and the shampoos and conditioners, but they decided for some reason I was not the best person to send. I don't know why.
It was so good, it washed all the hair away.
Shine. Got lots of shine.
You just needed to work for a shoe shine company.
So we kind of covered this, but I want to take you back to the first time when you got your edit back for the first time. Did you want to just crawl into a hole?
So when I got my first beta read back, it was the coolest thing in the world. They worked in politics. Oh, no. Governor's up next. We'll get into governor after this. Because I had not come from the writing world and never thought I was going to be a writer. I didn't even think it was possible for a person like me to write a work of fiction. And so when I got my first beta read back, I was like, oh my gosh, someone read my book. That's the coolest thing ever. And then I got my first edit back, and it made me want to crawl into a hole and never do this again and go back to playing video games, because the video games don't critique me. They just let me be the hero.
Right.
So
you get to kill things.
Yes, you get to be the superhero. And I'm going to take this off because it's getting toasty.
Okay. While you do that, I'm going to show your book again and tell us who did your cover.
I am so glad I get to share that. It is a gentleman named Christopher Cant, C-A-N-T. He's on Twitter. He has some amazing artwork out there. And I asked for a lot in this cover. It is a wraparound cover that has multiple characters, multiple scenes, a detailed background, and many minor characters. And I want to say he charged me $800 for the full wraparound, with the text, the typography, and he helped me get set up to do the back blurb, which I did myself, but he kind of formatted it for me so that it was very easy. He was going to charge $500 for the front cover. And after what I got back, I gave him a large tip because I was like, I didn't think I paid him enough. It is one of the things that gets the most comments out of everything. Like I'll post on Twitter and everyone's like, oh my God, that's a sick cover. And I shared on Twitter a while ago, like what I provided to him. And it was like 3 pictures overlaid in Microsoft Word of clip art. And he made that.
Yeah.
Dude's a genius. So I'm very happy with him. I've got him scheduled in like June or July to work on book 2's cover, hopefully, which will be releasing in October again of this year.
So is Lost Souls going to be in the Spiffbo equivalent of the sci-fi, which I can't pronounce that acronym?
I think they call it Sphinx, science fiction self-published indie competition.
I thought that was the novella one. I don't.
Oh no, that is the novella one.
Yeah.
There is the FP science SFSPS something.
Yeah,
it's hard to pronounce.
Yeah, the system.
I wanted to enter Lost Souls into this most recent one where JCM Byrne is now a semifinalist. Way to go, Joe. But you needed to submit by August 25th, and I just wasn't ready. And so it stinks because I yeah, back to laying down and being a couch potato. However, it gives me another opportunity to share my book with the world later on. So it's unfortunate, didn't make it into this one, but I'm very excited to enter it into the next one.
Well, hopefully my book will be there and be one of the first ones cut again, because that's my thing.
No, just like you trying to reach out to authors to be on your show and that being a hard thing, you got to positive self-talk your books and say, hey, I'm going to enter it into a competition with a bunch of great authors, but I think I stand a good chance.
No, I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I had nuns. There's none of this positive talk. It's always, shame and guilt. That's what makes me happy. Don't compliment me.
You were talking with one of the Spiffbo finalists. I'm struggling to remember his name.
Josiah Rosaire last night, or was it?
It was a week ago with the C. Yes, Kaplan. Yeah. And I commented, I was like, Mike, you are horrible at taking positive feedback. Absolutely. And I was just trying to talk you up while fitting into the I'm not good at this.
So, yep. Let's see. What do we have here? I've covered most of the process. So how do you market your book? And what is the secret that we all need to know so we can all be successful and retire?
Market your book 6 months before it comes out.
So did you do a Kickstarter?
So going back way to the beginning, I wasn't a writer. I didn't know writers. I didn't know authors. I didn't know BookTube. I wasn't a prolific reader. I just said, I'm going to write a book. And I wrote the book and I was like, okay, now I'm going to make a good book. And then I hopefully made it a little bit better. I was like, okay, I got to publish it. How do you do that? How to KDP.
Yep.
And I uploaded it in like 15 minutes. It was the easiest thing in the world. And then my book came out and I made a post on Facebook. And I was like, hi, everyone. I wrote a book. And then my mom bought 10 copies and shot it way up into the rankings and gave it to all her friends. And then they tanked into 0 in the next month. Yep. So I didn't do any pre-work. I didn't do any Kickstarters. I didn't do any live streams. And that's okay. I'm not going to become a full-time author. This is something I have fun doing, and I don't want the pressure of making it a full-time job ruining it. However, for the second one, I've learned a lot of lessons doing something badly the first time. And so hopefully I'll get advanced reader copies out. I'll get some interviews. I'll get some reviews. I'll have actual blurbs. So on the back of Lost Souls, we have a fantastic blurb. Hopefully you can see that. Yep. Heart-wrenching sci-fi thriller that ends with a bang. U.S. Space Force officer. That's a real human being. but it's not a named author. And so people think like, oh, is that a joke? Because not everyone knows about Space Force. And because he's in the government, he has to remain anonymous because you're not allowed to endorse anything.
Right.
And so for the next one, I'll learn, hey, get Christopher Rocchio to make a blurb for the book. Get Pierce Brown or Mike's Book Reviews. Britain, my mom was biggest fan number one. I have never gotten more than maybe 15, 20 likes on a post in my entire life. My mom reposted and shared her buying the book, and I think it got 175 likes and like 50 shares. And so within the first week of her sharing it on her Facebook, all of her friends from high school, her college reunion friends, went and bought a copy. So I think I sold 30 books in the first week because of my mom. So family support is bigger than anything that I've ever experienced. And after reading the first one, they probably won't go and buy the second one because it's incredibly sad. But I echo that sentiment of having a loving family is a wonderful blessing.
So have you gone to Comic-Cons? Do you plan on going to Comic-Cons? To sell, not for fun, because I get lots of Comic-Cons, but never for fun.
I went to the equivalent of Comic-Con or Dragon Con called TwitchCon to try and promote my stream when I was doing it, and it ended up being a vacation for me. There was no business, there was no garnering of sales, there was no getting followers. I would hope to do them in the future. However, because this is just a hobby and it's not self-sustaining and it's not something that I think my wife would be interested in, going on a vacation without her probably wouldn't be the best of me. So maybe if there's something in Oklahoma City, something in Dallas, maybe Kansas City that I could drive to, spend a night in a hotel and shill some books, I would definitely consider it.
You know, I have to say, if Ro was here, he'd say, "Oh, you're still in the honeymoon phase. You want to be together with your wife."
12 years of honeymoon.
He would say that.
I guess I just got to get 25 years in to know how he feels.
There you go.
Which will be an accomplishment, and I'll be happy to get there.
Amen. Let's see. Next question. Have you been to any book signings? Have you done anything out in the public, or has it all been online?
What a great question, because I have my first signing in 2 days.
Woohoo! Awesome.
I got my very first bookstore to take a copy in October. And then I got my second bookstore to take a copy in December. And they said, hey, we have a new fantasy author who wants to do a signing as well. Would you be interested in doing an in-person thing? I said, absolutely. Any chance to shill a book and make $5? I'm in. So I'm really excited. Thank you, Bex. I just ordered another 10 author copies. So I've got 15 in my possession. Hopefully sell one. But I was dreaming big, and I ordered 10 more just so that I didn't run out. It's a bookstore that's probably the size of a living room. It's pretty small and compact, but that means hopefully we'll have a very intimate conversation and get to have a wonderful discussion like we are right now, but in person on Saturday.
And did you do any sort of publicity tour, or is this your publicity tour that you're doing?
Yeah, this is kind of my publicity tour. One thing I learned from sales a couple years ago is make sure you have a product to sell, because if you sell an idea and someone wants to give you money and you have to say, well, it's still in development, so just give me a little while longer, they back out and never call you again. Kickstarter, which I've recently learned about, is a little bit more forgiving. You can say, hey, I'm doing a thing. And they're a little bit more forgiving and willing to give money. Bex, that's a wonderful idea. You could run an at-home bookshop, sell indie author signed copies. I'll send you a few.
I will send you more than a few.
Do you live in a high density location with high foot traffic? I'll send you a pallet.
If it's, you know, 2-story home, you can just start throwing it from the top floor at people.
Let's say she lives in an apartment in Manhattan with 10,000 daily foot traffic. Man, that is a great spot for a bookshop.
I have to add something. I am not legally responsible for any damage done while this book is being thrown.
Any concussions caused by hardcovers flying out windows is solely responsible for the window that was opened.
Amen. Yes. So we're talking about marketing. Where are you at on social media? Booktubers? Yes, I know you talk to some of people. Book Talk, Bookstagram, Twitter, ads. What are we doing? How are we conquering the world?
I am on Twitter. I've started posting consistently, which is a very, very difficult thing for me. I don't like selling. I don't like putting myself out there. One of the things this book has helped me with is telling people about Ryan Skeffington. I was very secretive and just, my father used to say, if you don't want grandma knowing about it, don't put it on social media. You know, there's probably an F-350 that can come by once a month, get books that you've sold and take them to the post office for you. And so I'm on Twitter to talk, casino. I can shill people to people who are drunk and willing to spend money. 50-50 odds that you'll like this book. Would you like to put $5 down? Instagram Reels and TikTok and YouTube Shorts, I know, are extremely valuable and very powerful. I don't want to use them because I would do it disingenuously. I would make content solely for the reason to sell books and not talk about me because I don't do video editing. And so I wouldn't be able to do the type of content that I would like to do. So that's just a personal failure of me having a disconnect between talking live. I can be off the cuff. I can be true to myself. Short form content has to be short, punchy, scripted, edited wonderfully, and it's just not who I am, because without the context, you miss so much of the person. And
Right.
so I haven't done them, but I might hire a video editor to take all these live conversations, clip them up, put them in vertical video form, and then post them 1, 2, 3 times a day, depending on how many we get after this. But it's just not something I'm interested in. And it's okay that I'm not interested in that because it's not my job.
Right. So I have to ask you, I went to an authors convention last year, and one of the authors, and this still boggles the mind, I'm old, so, you know, it doesn't take much, but he live streams on Twitch while he's writing. And I'm like, there is no way in this green world of ours that I am ever going to let people see just how much I murder the English language. And I'm like, one, who wants to watch you type? And two, how does one even, do this? But you were on Twitch, so teach me something about Twitch, because I know nothing.
So Twitch started out as live YouTube 10 years before YouTube had live. This site that we're using called StreamYard is 10 years in the making, because Twitch, which was formerly Justin.tv, StreamYard ran because Justin TV crawled. It started out as a place for people to share themselves playing video games, or that's where they found product market fit. That's not how it started. And so people were playing video games, and because people like watching sports and they like people doing things that they like doing but aren't going to do, people watched and tuned in. And so Twitch became a huge platform for people to watch others playing video games. Then they added other categories and said, hey, this person's really good at writing. This person's really good at woodworking. This person is just an entertaining person to talk to. And so they have different categories for different live streams. And I would say that in the same sense of what we're doing right now, would you like to do a live demonstration and see something that's never been done before? Because I see this present button and I'm interested. Can I play around with this? Share screen. Share screen is easy as the 2 monitors. Yes, okay. Which one do we want? We want a window. We want this one, and we're going to share. And so,
we're
we're live streaming a writing stream. And so this is Eternal Dreams, chapter 1. And so we're having a conversation right now. And let's do a poll. I have 4 opening sentences that will all be thrown away in the future. But which one do you like the best? If you're in chat, comment 1, 2, 3, or 4 of which one you like the best. And I will maybe choose yours as the first sentence of the book. And so what we just did right there was a 30-second clip of what it would be like to live stream an author writing their book. And let's say people in chat are unhappy with the 4 options that I put. They could say, you should do something else. And so I'll say, in the aftermath of death and destruction, see, typos. You get to see how fast I type, how many words per minute I am. Ratchet walked into the room and breathed a deep sigh, a deep sigh, and collapsed on the couch. Boom. And now we're live stream writing, and everyone thinks this is pretty interesting. And so that is how you would stream on Twitch.
Okay. So Jim has a question for you.
Jim, I am promoting book 1, Lost Souls, but what you just saw us do was me opening book 2, Eternal Dreams, and if you go back and watch the recording and hit pause, you got the first, let's go ahead and select all of this, tools, word count, you got the first 300 words of Eternal Dreams absolutely free. Look at Bald&Balding providing value to the audience every day. That's what happens when you have a over 100 subscriber, high quality video production. And I'm not going to let you not take that compliment. So I'm just going to keep talking so you can't self-depreciate and not accept it.
Oh, no. You've taken away my superpower.
I am your kryptonite.
So let's see. That is just about it. I know the answer to these, but Eternal Dreams, nice title.
And while we're having a pause, thank you, Jim, for the compliment. I very much appreciate that. Over your, I'm hoping it's your left shoulder, on your wall, you have a 3/4 circle, which kind of looks like a clock.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell us what that is and where it's from?
That is a clock. I saw it. I liked the idea because it was like, broken, like shattered, like the guys from Russia who sold it to me. So, it might have spying device in there, and there are KGB agents who watch me to fall asleep at night. But it's just an odd little clock. And they said they could like burn in. So I put in my last name, Mollman, and I told my nephews, this is going to be a family heirloom. Which one of you wants it? And they both said, throw it away.
I'm sorry for laughing so loud.
So one of my nephews, who is actually a medical doctor, I'll tell you, 4 boys in the Mollman family, my generation. Only one of us ever got married. He had 2 kids, also boys. So there's no estrogen to be found anywhere. So one of my brothers passed away a couple years ago, and then we had to clean out his house, and he's kind of a hoarder. And the oldest nephew goes, Jeff and I are going to have to clean out all 3 more houses because of you guys. And I'm like, yes. And he's a medical doctor. He is in residency, and he goes, Uncle Mike, if you feel chest pain, just go and grab a lighter and start your house on fire so we can take the insurance money. I'm like, you are a fucking doctor.
Yeah, he's not a lawyer.
That's actually the younger one's going to be a lawyer. So
I love it. So he knows how to get out of it and do it effectively.
I told my brother that means that as soon as they're both ready, they're going to put him in a home and take all his money.
Hopefully, if the economy doesn't tank for these, I assume they're younger millennials, they'll have enough. They've got some good professions.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what we were told.
Yeah, exactly. So I asked you off camera, but I will ask you again. Do we have a website, newsletter, or are they coming soon?
So I don't have a website or newsletter, and I would love to say that I'm going to have one in the future. But because this is a hobby, I just don't know if I can be bothered. My DMs are open on Twitter, and I post frequently enough that I feel like people already get enough of me. I call them the hairless. If there's an audience and someone says, "Hey, yeah, I would be interested in getting a once a month newsletter from you just to see what's up with your life," I wouldn't be opposed to doing it. I love writing, and a newsletter is just more writing. One of the reasons why I stopped doing Twitch was because to be successful on Twitch, you had to have a schedule and you had to stick to it. And you had to know people were going to show up Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday from 7 to 10. And if you weren't live, they just didn't come back. So I don't want to put myself into schedules that I can't stick to. And that's why I love writing. It's a spur of the moment thing. I have inspiration. I knock out 2,000 words. I sit down and I want to write 1,000 words and I get 7 words in and I can, hey, time to load up some video games. It's not for tonight. So if there's some people in chat who want a newsletter, let's knock one out. Maybe I'll make a LinkedIn post and send them the link.
What about Lost Souls? I don't think he's talking about me.
Okay. So he might be referencing his previous question. Daniel Green calls his fans goblins. What do you call your fans? So that's an interesting question because we have different strata. And I know Pierce Brown has howlers. And I don't know where that comes from. I assume it's characters in the book. I don't know if I've ever thought about this, or I don't know if I have a good answer. Titans would be fantastic because instead of minions or goblins, they could be lost souls. See, but I want them to be found. That is the one part of the grimdark aspect of the book that will never go away, is the hope. I'm slowly learning about Warhammer 40,000, and that's a very grimdark world with no hope. And so everyone's just at war forever. I want there to be hope. And so what I love about the Titans is that each of them have their own distinct style, fighting skill set, their own appearance, their own personality. And just like with every person, they have their own distinct nicknames. They have their own distinct styles in writing. And I love the name Titans. That's just powerful. So that's a very empowering thing. Mike, you don't have to sign up. We can call you the Tootsie Rolls. Just to knock the self-depreciating humor in there. This nihilistic thing is no fun. Yeah, life is hard, and you got to find the good in it to want to keep going. There are many things and many people who will drag and claw you and push you into the dirt. You don't need to do it yourself because they'll take your money while you're doing it and leave you with nothing. So I like to err on the side of positivity. One of the 3 characteristics of my 20s that I came out of my lived experience with was be relentlessly optimistic. Don't work with cynics. They suck the positivity out of everything. Act compassionately any chance you get. Compassion is sympathy or empathy combined with action. So you have to make a active effort to improve someone else's life, and in every interaction with someone, do your best to interact with them with kindness. So those are my 3 tenets, and I think Titans would be able to spread that positivity.
Yep. So, and just to let you know, my newsletter is called Just a Moment.
We need a pun. I love it. Okay, can I tell you a horrible joke? Because I love horrible jokes. So why did the United States know communism was going to fail? There were red flags everywhere.
Oh, God.
I love that joke so much. They're the best. I've told my wife that joke probably 100 times, and I'm still married. It's the greatest thing ever. Ryan's Titans. I like that. Release bugs to eat other stuff. That's just called ecological responsibility. Yeah, merch would be great.
So you said 2 days you're going to be at a book signing,
I
and
am.
and do you have something next week?
After that, I have 3 more chats on the schedule. On
Nice.
February 5th, I will be on Aaron's channel, Bibliotheory. We'll be
Yep.
doing, excuse me, Books and Brews or Brews and Books, Book Brew. A week after that, oh, is it in my calendar? I don't know if it's in my calendar. I know there's something, but I've since forgotten. That's the worst part. I have something coming up on the 12th of February. It's going to be another chat. It is with Nicholas Fuller. It is, I think, called Behind the Pages. I feel bad. Person Behind the Pages. Thank you. And then on March 1st, I will be on Kay's Hidden Bookshelf. And that is going to be a very special day because we are kicking off a month-long buddy read of Lost Souls. And so for the month of March, we'll be reading Lost Souls in the Page Turner Discord, which Bo is the admin and I believe creator of. Wonderful community there. And I believe we're going to have 2 live streams, one on the 15th and one on the 30th, to in-depth discuss the first half of the book and then full book spoilers on the 30th.
All righty. And just so you know, on Bald&Balding, next Wednesday, the 31st, if I can read here, is Caden Love will be on the show. We just got him like 2 days ago to agree to come on.
Fantastic.
And I told him we're going to talk about his book, obviously, but he had an enormously successful Kickstarter, so I'm jealous and envious. So we will ask him questions about that too. So, and Elegy of a Fragmented Vineyard. I read that and I'm like, that's a literary fiction title. There is no way that is fantasy.
I watched the podcast of his lunch party, and someone described it similar to Game of Thrones. So there's depth and complexity and
Nice.
a lot that went into the novel, I've heard. So I think it's a very fitting title.
And then on Thursday of next week, we're doing, I don't know if this is going to be popular or not. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it is. We have 2 unpublished aspiring writers, and we're going to have Catherine D. Graham on and Roe, because they do all the types of editing and tell you how to fix things, and I'm there to tell you how to do things wrong. And we're just going to open it up, and they're going to ask questions, and we're going to answer as best we can. And I hope that there's an audience for that, because I'd like to do that more. And I already have lining up one other wannabe author who, I'd love to have him on and just, tell them things that I wish I knew before I start it. So hopefully they will get people for that. I don't know how to shout about that because I mostly only follow authors on Twitter, not aspiring ones. Thank you. Bald and beautiful. Roe's going to run with that, and say that's the new title for our.
That's fantastic. I love that idea of bringing editors and new writers and giving them a space to talk, because the questions that new writers have are probably the same questions I had a year ago. And so other aspiring authors will have those same questions. And for maybe newer 1 or 2 books published, hearing the answers that editors give could teach us something that no one's ever told us before, because you don't know what you don't know. So I'll be tuning in. I'll be in the peanut gallery. I'll limit my jokes so that the editors do most of the talking, so that it's a valuable live stream and I don't derail it with my ramblings. But that does sound awesome.
So yeah, hopefully that takes off. I'd like to do it more often, but we'll see. We have one other idea I was floating out that they did at the author convention I was at, where they had a panel and they built a monster in the course of an hour.
Oh, that's cool.
And I want to do that on a live show. And I want to, like, these authors who are afraid to talk to booktubers, I want to get like 2 of those authors and a booktuber, put them together for an hour to create a monster. And then it's like, look at that. They're not scary. You can talk to booktubers and, and try to do that just for fun. I don't know. I talked to Roe and he's like, in the summer, we'll do that. So
it's like if you go to a work conference and they do breakout sessions, you are building a breakout session.
Yeah.
Yeah, reading it will work.
Ooh, I've had to read my own book, and I feel all kinds of uncomfortable.
I would.
One time when I moved it because I had to get something, I didn't move it back, and I got up in the middle of the night, and oh my God, yeah.
So take that feeling, write it down for me of what that heart attack felt like, and please send it to me in DM so I can put that in a book, because that feeling, oh my goodness, would be perfect for a horror scene.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to talk about? I have run through what ChatGPT has provided for me. So,
thank you, ChatGPT. I really appreciate you replacing Ro. You were a sufficient co-host. You don't do video editing yet, so Ro still has a job. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I hope I told one joke that made you laugh. I did say I wanted to say something funny. I hope you learned something. I appreciate you hanging out with me. If you've bought Lost Souls and enjoyed it, thank you so much for giving it a shot. If you haven't, if you want to read it and you don't want to buy it, shoot me a DM on Twitter and I'll send it to you. I just want to share my story with the world. The second book will come out this October. I am looking for alpha readers and beta readers, so if that interests you, please shoot me a DM. Mike, thank you so much for having me on your channel. I've taken way too much of your time and been way too silly, but I had too much fun tonight.
Yes, and your Lost Souls will soon be a quarterfinalist, semifinalist, finalist, one of those.
It'll be a four competitor. Oh, man, that was wonderful.
Well, thank you. And now we're going to get to the awkward part where we wave goodbye until it finally cuts us off.